to Unclouded Eye. I'm Ashley Brooks.
And I'm Ty Gowan.
We're your source for the astrological forecast and some cosmic chit chat.
And I left my water upstairs.
I'm sorry. You're going to be parched.
I'm going to be so parched in this episode, but I'm excited about this episode because this is a wild card one.
Yeah.
The subject was too large to take on alone, and so we teamed up for this one.
Yes. We each took a portion of it, and I'm really excited to talk about mine because it's pretty weird.
Yeah, mine's a little weird too.
Yeah, there's some strangeness with it.
But first of all, for our cosmic chit chat, you want to talk a little bit about embarrassing high school experiences or middle school, high school.
Yeah, just school experiences. Mm-hmm. So I'll go first if you want.
Yeah, absolutely.
Okay. So I remember when I was in 5th grade, or it might have been 6th grade. I think it was 6th grade, actually. There were these Adidas wind pants that I really wanted. And I ended up getting them. They were white. They had a silver stripe down the side. They were so cool. I really wanted them. Like this is back when wind pants were just all the rage.
I was all into wind pants.
Yeah, wind pants. Everyone was swooshing around the halls.
Everywhere you walk.
Yeah. So I got these white wind pants. They're so really pretty. They had like the shimmery silver stripe with the Adidas logo. Beautiful. So I'm wearing them in school. Everything's great. I feel great. Then this was probably the last year that we had like recess, even though we were in 6th grade, we'd like go outside basically. And so we walk outside. It's a beautiful sunny day. I'm walking across the playground and the sun is just shining.
Oh no.
Through my wind pants. They're completely see-through outside. Completely see-through.
Oh no, that's life or death in 6th grade.
Everyone noticed. Everyone started laughing. Everyone made a huge deal out of it because, I mean, what else you got going on in 6th grade? Somebody has see-through wind pants. It's like the story for the month. And so, yeah, I had to rush inside. They weren't as see-through inside, but I just didn't notice. Like when I put them on, they were very lightly lined, like barely. So yeah, like it was just completely see-through. It was like I wasn't even wearing pants and I didn't wear those again.
Well, I didn't realize yours was going to have to do with pants. And so I was going to shift with a less embarrassing subject, but I'm back to the pants one now.
Okay. Yeah.
Yeah. So this is a 5th grade experience.
Okay.
But this was formative for me needing to understand my body and what it was telling me. So I think it was like, it was a hot day. We were all out at recess and I have chronic stomach problems all the time. Didn't know it was chronic back then. And I trusted a fart.
Oh no.
I know. It was a hot day. And I would remember I was on, Ash, this is so embarrassing. I mean, it is what it is now. But back then I thought I was going to die because I was on a zip line. On not like a big one, right?
Yeah.
But like those zip lines that they have at playgrounds that they go about maybe 15 feet and you hold onto a plastic thing.
Yeah.
And Ash, I jumped up and I grabbed it and that's when it happened.
So you're like up in the air. People are looking.
In the air.
People are seeing.
So hands up and I'm sliding and I just remember going completely stiff and feeling the experience happen while I just zoomed down the zip line and I hit the other side and I dropped off pencil style.
Did people notice?
I don't know. I don't remember if people knew, but I think they must have because I remember hitting the end, dropping off and like landing completely rigid.
Yep.
And thinking to myself, I can't believe this is real life,
Yeah,
and
that's like a bad dream. Did
that just happen? Take a whiff and be like, yep, this is my life right now. And I remember like, in Toy Story, how the army men walk because their legs are connected.
Yeah.
I headed straight towards the school. And I do remember one of the on-duty teachers trying to stop me from going back inside because that was the rule. And I remember just looking at her and saying what happened. And she just opened the door for me.
Yeah,
and
she's like, you poor child.
That was it. I just will never forget sliding through the air. And just having gravity take care. I'm trying to dance around the point, right?
Yeah.
But gravity helped the situation be much worse is all I'm going to say.
What do you do? Like you have to throw your pants away. Like you have to get through the rest of the day? What did you do? Did you go home?
I flushed the underwear in the toilet. It clogged the toilet and started overflowing.
It's getting worse.
So I remember I had to put the pants back on and I had to race to another bathroom because the one that I tried to use I broke it. In the other bathroom, I had to use the sink to wash the pants. Yeah. It was
That is brutal. That is like
brutal, but the way I snuck through and never got caught, that I literally broke a bathroom, and no one teased me about it, so I don't know if
it was only
knew.
embarrassing to you.
Yes.
It wasn't like other people were like teasing you.
It was not a public ridicule moment. It could have been much worse.
So mine wasn't it wasn't as gross, but it was like public ridicule.
Yeah.
And it was, like, and it wasn't even that bad. It's not like I didn't have like something on underneath the pants, but still, when you're like 11 years old, that
that can't happen. That's my friend Raven moved schools and had a similar social suicide moment where, and I don't know where this came from, but she said that she was in a new school. It was a new homeroom. They went around and they asked for everyone's name, and the teacher kept saying Revis B. Revis B. I mean, Raven's like, my name's Raven. She was, yeah. Have I called your name? No, because that's not my name. But can you imagine going into a new high school as the new kid, and the teacher calls you Revis B? And this is the 90s, so Beavis and Butthead is out there.
Yeah, Revis
B.
That's not even close.
Not even close.
Where's the B?
I don't know.
Okay.
Either way, anytime that Raven does something funny, I always blame it on Revis.
Yeah,
good old
alter
Revis.
ego.
But hey, so that's a good intro of embarrassment. But we got to jump into the celestial forecast, and it's Aquarius season.
Yeah, so we're doing a very abridged forecast this week because I want to give Aquarians the highlight they deserve.
Do they deserve?
I mean, I think so.
Okay, let's keep going then. I don't have any problem with Aquarius.
Okay.
Besides the fact that you have water in the name, but you're a wind sign. I'm just saying you guys are a little tricky.
It's confusing. They are a little tricky. They that's misleading.
It is very misleading.
They're the water bearer, but they're an air sign.
Thank you for at least agreeing with me.
Yeah, no, it's weird. Okay, so this week on Tuesday the 21st, we have Mercury squaring Chiron and the Sun conjunct Pluto. So we could be feeling a little insecure about our thoughts or insecure about how we're coming across and how we're communicating. And the Sun is conjunct Pluto, so there's a need to kind of like really overpower things, tackle them, and kind of come at your goals with everything you have. But there's some insecurity there as well. So there's this need to kind of assert yourself against power or authority, but it's also like, oh, I don't know how to do this. Yep. So that's kind of like leading off the week on Tuesday. Then on Thursday, the 23rd, we have 3 transits happening. We have Mars sextile Uranus, which helps us to have like bursts of energy. This can be useful for combating that Mars retrograde. We might have some bursts of energy that we can make use of on Thursday. Mm-hmm. Mercury is opposing Mars, so there could be some argumentative energy coming in. People could be a bit more quarrelsome with one another, some frustration, some impatience coming up.
Is that exacerbated by Mars being retrograde?
I think so, yeah, because there's already pent-up aggression from that. And then finally, Mercury is trine Uranus. So there's lots of new ideas flowing, a lot of like new perspective, good for kind of drumming up some new innovations or inventions.
New ideas, but harder to communicate them. Mm-hmm. They say no Ben Franklin moment.
Yeah, no. Saturday the 25th, Venus is trine Mars. This is great for being more passionate, being really invested in something. It's great for romance, for dating, for socialization, anything that's going to involve kind of like going out there and putting yourself out there and connecting with other people.
Thankful for a Saturday. That's nice.
Yeah, this is a nice Saturday. Mm-hmm. Good day to like hang out with friends or go on a date. Sunday the 26th, we have Mercury sextile Neptune. This is very imaginative, dreamy, and psychic. There could be some signs coming through to you, some visions, lucid dreams.
Similar to what your mom asked on Patreon.
Yes, exactly. There was a Patreon question. We do Q&A every month on Patreon. So if you're got a lot of questions you're curious about, you can hop on over there.
And your mom wrote in, which I was so happy
very
for.
Sweet. Mm-hmm. And then also on Sunday, Venus is sextiling Uranus, which is good for surprises and relationships and kind of like breathing fresh energy into situations that might have felt stagnant, like with friendships, or like maybe you're working on a new project together, or you're going to go out and do something fun that you've never done before. Just new energy coming in. So let's talk about Aquarius then.
Let's dive in.
Okay, so Aquarius season this year lasts from January 19th to February 18th. Their element is air, as Ty pointed it out. They are a fixed sign, so they're right in the middle of a season. In the northern hemisphere, they're right in the middle of winter. They're smack dab in the center of it. In the southern hemisphere, it's the middle of summer. Their ruling planet is Uranus, so they have that kind of like electric kind of change ability that Uranus brings. But there's also, because they're fixed, they're a little stubborn. You know, they're very unique and innovative, but they're stubborn in that they're not as moved by other people. They're more about like being innovative on their own rather than being like kind of affected by what other people are putting down.
That's why they hold on to their name, even though it's misleading.
Their symbol is the water bearer, yes. And their opposite sign is Leo. So where Leos are very like self-expressive, they're more about kind of like the personal individual experience. Aquarians are really about the collective. They really are very big picture and humanitarian. They like to think about how to impact the world on the greatest scale. Whereas Leo is more like, how can I make this one person like make their day better? How can I like shed a little sunshine for like the people in front of me? Whereas Aquarius is thinking big. They're like, how can I impact the most people?
Leos are like Jean-Luc Picard and Aquarians are like the Borg.
Oh my gosh, that's a great reference. I like that. Mm-hmm. So they rule over birds, and their day of the week is Saturday. Their gemstones are amethyst, which is the February birthstone, moldavite, which is actually
wow.
Yeah, that's like
super powered
ET type stone. That's in the Czech Republic. Many years ago, like thousands of years ago, there was an asteroid that hit and it turned the dirt to this glass, this like weird glass. And so that's what moldavite is. Mm-hmm. And it has a very weird energy. I used to work at a crystal shop, and it really does. Like, some people love it. Some people, it makes me feel sick.
It does.
Yeah. It was so funny because we had drawers, like we had these deep drawers underneath all the like crystal stations where we would keep like the overstock. And sometimes like if you didn't pull it out all the way, you just have to reach in and kind of like feel things. I would always know when I was touching moldavite, like when my hand was like on top of it, because I would suddenly get nauseous, and it just every time.
That's wild.
Yeah. And some people like have that reaction, and some people really like it. Maybe because I'm the opposite sign of Aquarius, it just doesn't work for me.
That'd be really interesting.
Although I do know some Leos who like it, so okay. I don't know. Mm-hmm. Okay, they also have petersite, which is a good stone for dreaming, and eyelite, which is like a third eye chakra stone.
That's very cool. You'd think that they would have some more connection with Neptune and Jupiter then, if their like stones are so third eye, psychic intuition type of moment.
They're just very visionary. So third eye, like it is psychic, but it also rules over like being visionary and imagining and kind of like putting that energy out there.
I'm on board. Okay, cool.
So their color is electric blue, that kind of like bright neon blue. Their number is 11, and personality traits independent, inventive, opinionated, humanitarian, curious. So they tend to march to their own drum. They tend to like things before they're cool. They are very much like trendsetters rather than trend followers. They do their own thing. They tend to be very techie. They're usually good with technology. My dad's an Aquarius. He always had like the tech before anyone else did. Like he was.
And that's part of that visionary probably type of thing.
Yep. They love that. There tends to be like a lot of interest in like sci-fi and fantasy. They tend to be very like imaginative and a little otherworldly. Like some of the most like strange people you'll meet will be Aquarians. They definitely march to their own drum. You know, they're not going to bend or break their will for other people. Very stubborn.
I take it back. They sound wonderful.
Yeah.
I invite them to the Aries Club.
Okay. Mm-hmm. See, I knew you'd get along because it's a sextile. You have a sextile between Aquarius, so they tend to be friends.
Yep. We're going to allow it.
So let's talk about some Aquarius celebrities, as we do every month. So for musicians, this is all over the board. We got a big array of people. We've got Shakira.
We'll just keep going.
Mozart.
Oh, really?
Yep.
I bet his hips didn't lie either.
Bob Marley, Ed Sheeran, Harry Styles, Alicia Keys, Alice Cooper, The Weeknd, Brandy, Rick Astley, and Kelly Rowland.
That is all over.
Yeah, it's really all over the place. I tried to think of like something that would group all these people together, and I really have nothing.
It's a quality swath.
Because I think that Aquarians are really hard to define because they're all so individual and unique that I'm not really seeing much within this group that I could be like, these people are all like this.
Follow a thread. Yeah. No, cool.
They're all over the place. For actors, we have Jennifer Aniston, Sharon Tate, James Dean, so a couple more classic actors there, Christian Bale, Elijah Wood, Rainn Wilson, and Tom Selleck.
Oh.
There actually weren't that many Aquarian actors.
No.
I had a little trouble making that list. So yeah, I mean, that's another one that's kind of all over the place.
They dip towards music then.
Yep. So historical figures and other, this is where we really see them shine, like this other category. So we have Galileo, Abraham Lincoln, FDR, Babe Ruth, Michael Jordan, couple of like the greats in sports, Frederick Douglass, Captain Edward Smith, who's known for helming the Titanic.
Oh, he was. I was like, why is that familiar?
Mm-hmm. Rosa Parks and Charles Dickens.
It's all over the place.
Yeah, it is all over the place. But when we look at these historical figures, these are all people that were very prominent, like leaders in their field.
Mm-hmm.
So like, and also people that were a little rebellious, because that's kind of the energy, like Rosa Parks, you know.
Marching the beat of their own drum.
Yeah, Abe Lincoln. Like these are all people that were kind of doing their own thing that, you know, maybe wasn't even approved of at the time.
I love it because it really shows like that the thread that brings them all together is that individualism.
Yeah, I think that's the one thing you can take away is that they all are true to themselves. There's not a lot of people on this list that are, you know, blindly following trends.
No one is.
Yeah, nobody. I mean, I don't know a ton about all the musicians I named or like every actor on that list, but all these people seem like they were pretty much kind of motivated to do their own thing.
Yeah. So Aquarians, you can do whatever you want to.
Yeah.
That's what we learned today.
We believe in you.
We believe in you.
All right, let's tackle this multi-part exploration
of the fall of the not the Russian Empire. This is my Roman Empire.
This is the Russian Revolution and what led to it and what came after it.
So we split this up for a reason. I am going to share a bit about the Romanovs, who are key figures in the fall of what used to be early Russia.
Yeah.
And there's also a very important key character in there that led to the fall. And you're going to go through that, right?
I am.
So that would be, let's just tell them, but it's Rasputin, the mad monk Ash is doing a deep dive into, and I can't wait to figure out what you shared.
What a rascal.
He is a rascal. He did a lot of stuff, and he was a very smelly boy.
Yeah, he can't have smelled good.
He can't have smelled good. Like, he just cannot.
I mean, we've seen the pictures.
There's pictures of it, and there's there's a podcast that I sent you that there were like eyewitness accounts of people being like, this is unbelievable.
The scent?
The scent of Rasputin.
Yeah.
It
lingered.
It lingered, much like Rasputin himself, which is how I'm going to dive in. This is a great segue.
Okay.
So as we're about to learn, Rasputin was a very eccentric character.
He was.
And I'm going to say that his eccentricities and maybe even his smell has affected the world that we live in today, even though he died long, long ago.
Yep.
So I think a lot of people would agree that Rasputin had a hand with helping the Romanovs to decline and eventually fall.
I talk about that a bit in my little report I worked on.
Perfect.
Yeah.
Perfect. Because I'm going to say that as a world culture, like all of us together on this planet, we're still feeling those Rasputin ripple effects now here in 2025. So with the fall of the great czars of Russia, who had led the country since the early 1500s, that made way for the Bolsheviks, who were led by Vladimir Lenin. And that brought along communism to Russia after the Romanovs had fallen. Following his rule, Russia then became the USSR under Stalin. And that led us into the Cold War era. So if you guys don't know about the Cold War, there's a tension between the US and Russia about nuclear arms, basically. And this Cold War era would eventually allow Vladimir Putin to take power in 1999. So Vladimir Putin is a president of what they would call a democracy in Russia. However, they also have two presidential term limits. That's 2 terms, right? He's now serving his 5th term. So
that's worrying.
Yeah, we can read between the lines there about how that democracy is going. But anyway, a little bit more about Putin is that during his rule, he's accumulated enough power to infiltrate control of the Russian media, He has made opposition leaders disappear. I think we've seen like the poisonings and stuff like that in the news that just happen. He's also suspected of conducting domestic terrorist attacks to remain in office. There's apartment bombings that, again, could be linked to his leadership. And then on the world stage, which we know he has waged war against Chechnya, Georgia, Ukraine, which we're seeing happen right now. And he also successfully annexed Crimea, basically took it back under Russian rule. They got reabsorbed because of his imperialistic nature.
Yep.
And from an American point of view, the rise of Russian power has been a thorn. However, it can essentially be traced back to the ineptitude of Tsar Nicholas II, the fall of the Romanovs, and then the subsequent rise of the Russian Revolution in 1917 therein. All of which your homeboy is
my homeboy,
major character in that.
He's not mine. I'm just talking about him.
He's your boy.
No, he's your team.
So he let's talk about how he connects with the royal family overall. Okay. So following the golden era of Catherine the Great, and I say golden era in quotes, of Catherine the Great in the late 1700s, Russia's royal family really enjoyed the fruits of the land and were successfully repelling invaders at that time, like Napoleon Bonaparte.
Yes.
So they were making wins, and they were growing in strength. And that kind of lasted until Tsar Nicholas I passed away from pneumonia during the Crimean War, and his reign fell to a disconnected and inexperienced and not well-liked son. So Tsar Nicholas II inherited all of kind of the problems of the people in the country.
So similar to Louis XVI and Marie Antoinette.
It's exactly the same.
So
the
similar.
vibe is the same as the French Revolution here. Workers' needs are being unmet. Their people are going hungry. And then worst of all, the public perception of Tsar Nicholas II, who are, supposed to be lauded like Catherine the Great, people really thought that he sucked.
Yeah.
Like, I don't know if you saw it in your research.
Yeah.
He was well known to be weak-willed, and he just didn't care about the people in his country.
And Tsarina Alexandra got it real bad too.
Yes, she did.
I'm going to talk a lot about that.
Okay, perfect. Because she, I have it in here, she just didn't like people in Russia, and she didn't like the aesthetic of Russia.
She was German born.
But she wanted out.
And they didn't like her because of that, and they didn't like her because of her apologies for Rasputin.
Exactly.
Which we will get into.
Because she's a Rasputin enabler.
Yep.
So there's an event that took place in St. Petersburg on January 22nd, 1905 called the Bloody Sunday Massacre. And it's basically where like workers had kind of risen up and united against basically poor working conditions and just the general public outcry of needing to do more they needed the government of Russia to do more for the people, right? So the people marched on the Winter Palace where the Romanovs were staying to basically spout out their plight. And instead of listening to them, Nicholas II ordered his troops to fire upon them.
Oh, gosh.
And so all these people wanting to demonstrate their strife instead concluded that truly the ruling family does not care about the working people and proved them right, unfortunately. So that's a bad move politically, and also really bad move just for the state of like you're murdering hundreds of people.
Yeah, that's terrible.
So this incident is kind of the spark that would ignite the explosion 12 years later that would doom the Romanov family. It's really Bloody Sunday that did a lot of it. And then here we're going to dip into a little bit about your topic is knowing that Alexandra was widely disliked by the people because of just her feelings for Russian culture in general, coming from Germany. She made herself much more disliked and unwelcome by letting Rasputin, aka the Mad Monk, into her private circle. So that happened because the Nicholas II was more worried about carrying on his family royal line than he was about actually ruling the people.
Yep.
And so Alexandra and him had 4 girls in a row, which is not an heir, like you can't have that back then. So we had Olga, Tatiana, Maria, and the famous Anastasia were born. That happens before finally they get a male on August 12th, 1904. They have a little boy named Alexei. Alexei is the window for Rasputin to become very manipulative for the Romanov family, because Alexei is an unfortunate cog in their downfall just by being born with hemophilia.
Yep.
So hemophilia means that he had trouble clotting his own blood. And being the only heir to the family, that meant that he was under constant supervision. He didn't get to grow up like a normal kid. Like, he was sheltered and prevented from playing with abled children, who didn't have that disease. It was really rough for him growing up. And also, you can't make children never have an accident.
No, they're going to play. They're going to run around. Like, they can't just stay in one place and not move.
Which opens up for Rasputin's miracles, which I'll let you tap on a little bit in there, because I'm sure you're talking about it.
Oh, yeah.
So basically, Alexandra becomes convinced that the mad monk is the only one who can heal her child. And she'll do anything to heal her child. Therefore, allowing someone into the royal family that really has no business being there. And kind of slowly allows him to work his way into the inner circle, is the last straw to trigger the Bolshevik takeover and also the extermination of the royal family line. And on December 29th, 1916, an insane amount of attempts to kill Rasputin are taken out. Are you going to get into that?
Yeah.
Okay, so we're going to just go for the fact that he's found in a river the next day.
Yeah, he is removed eventually from the picture.
Do you want to go through what comes next then, which is just some astrological signs of the fall of the Romanovs? Because it's October, November of 1917 that the family begins to fall. And I can explain that if you want to just give us an overview of the ingredients in the sky.
So I just have one thing about that. I did a full chart for their actual execution, but it's weird because like the fall before, there's not much of note, but there's one transit that I think really like kind of speaks to it.
When they're the fall of
in like the fall of 1916, that led to Rasputin's death, that then led to this kind of eventual execution of the family. So in October 1916, there was a square between Jupiter and Saturn that kind of played throughout that autumn. And if you think about Saturn as authority, Saturn is like this restrictive kind of like nobility or imperial. And then Jupiter is freedom. It's, the ability to expand, and they're in square. So there's tension between the people and those in power. There's a tension between this authority and those who want more freedom and those who are seeking it. So this would have probably contributed to like this being the perfect storm of a time. And we'll get into the actual death chart of the family once you get to that point, and that's very interesting as well.
Okay, almost there, because what you just described to me is a powder keg on top of a powder keg.
Yes.
Like literally this is gunpowder in the sky, and the people are, lighting sparks everywhere because they've had enough.
Yeah, it's getting to the point where the tension is really building around this time.
So it's that October, November of 1917 that you're talking about, that the Romanovs are I think it's from the Winter Palace. They're literally taken from their homes in the night.
Yeah.
The Bolsheviks have risen with the people's authority, and they are done with being ruled by the royal court, really.
It's exactly like the French Revolution.
It's exactly like it. In the aspect of, I feel like, because Marie Antoinette was not well liked either. She was disconnected with the community. So it's literally like a mirror aspect of that, which we should learn from. So the Romanovs now no longer have their mad monk at their side. He has been, for all intents and purposes, executed multiple times the year before. And the family is now forced to live in Siberia under house arrest while the leaders of the revolution figure out what to do with them, right? So conditions are terrible. It's cold. They're meant to make this family suffer as the first communist government in the world rises to power. They stayed like this from the fall of 1917 to the night of July 16th, 1918. They're told to dress up for a family portrait. This gave me chills when I read this. I didn't know about this. They're woken up in the middle of the night and told to dress up for a family portrait that will be occurring in the basement. They're led down to the basement of the home they're imprisoned in, lined up for that picture. And at that moment, that's when the Bolsheviks pull out firearms and bayonets and shoot and stab the family to death, hide their bodies in a mass grave. And some say that basically burn the evidence to basically show that not only could the royal leaders be ousted, but a dynasty destroyed. Like that was the message that was being sent from the family. And there's also, the urban legend that little Anastasia made it away. There's, lovely tales and even a movie about it.
Yeah.
And that did not happen. No one made it out of here.
No, there were a lot of people that claimed to be Anastasia later on.
That's right.
But that wasn't real.
It was actually in 1999 and 2007, they actually found the bodies in the Ural Mountains and did DNA testing. And while you can't say that one of them is Anastasia, the DNA marks up that like there's an appropriate number of girls and boys in the mass grave. So that is the fall of the Romanovs and how it links to our current state of affairs in the world right now.
Yeah.
History matters.
Yeah, it does.
And
for
it all relates to one very ambitious monk.
Yep. So let's look at the death chart for the family real quick, and then I'll get into Rasputin.
Yeah.
So there was a grand trine happening when the Romanovs were executed, and it was between the moon, Jupiter, and Uranus. So this would have been rebellion, freedom.
Are you kidding me?
Yeah, this would have really felt empowering to people. This wouldn't have been a tragic thing. This would have been like a celebratory thing.
Yep.
Which is kind of sad because there are children involved. But, and the moon was at the 29th degree of Libra, the sign of justice.
So this literally, astrologically, if you were feeling that energy, you would feel like this is the last night.
Yeah, it would have felt like it was really building. So I looked at the astrology for 10 p.m. because I tried to find exactly when this happened. I think it was around like 10 to 11 p.m.
Yes.
So this is like...
It was after dark.
Right.
That's all I saw.
So this is like the best that I could get. But yeah, the moon was building in Libra. There's this need to have justice, and the grand trine was aligning, which would have made them feel like they were empowered to deliver justice.
Yeah.
Venus was conjunct the South Node. This almost feels to me like justice from past lives or justice from lineages down the line.
Yeah, we're exterminating a dynasty.
Yeah, exactly. So Venus, like, it almost feels like the people are taking justice for their ancestors even.
They kind of have to, because if you think about this, if they just killed the Romanovs and they didn't kill the identity of the Romanovs, they didn't kill the lore of the family, you would just get another leader who's somewhat related, it would just continue the system.
Yeah.
They needed to kill the ideology instead.
Yeah. Yep. And Jupiter had just moved into Cancer. It was at 0 degrees of Cancer, which is expansion of a family, which is interesting. But Jupiter was like loosely conjunct Pluto. So it would have been like the transformation of this family. So yeah.
That's a transformation you don't come back from.
No, transforming from this world to another maybe. But yeah, so this was interesting. The chart was very... It almost like looking at it, you wouldn't be like, oh, something bad's going to happen. Like it feels like something good is going to happen, which I know is a weird thing to say because this is, I mean, in a way it's tragic.
Yeah. But also if you're from a Russian populi,
yeah,
that's a very good thing.
It would have felt empowering. So that's just to give you an idea of how people were feeling about it, because it seems celebratory. It seems significant.
Right. And I bet they were, because Nicholas II was not a great ruler.
Yeah. Yeah, no, he wasn't. And yeah, it's unfortunate for the children, but
for sure.
Yeah. Okay, so let's get into Rasputin.
Yeah, I'm so excited for this because he's so weird.
He's so weird.
Yeah.
We're going to do his birth chart, but first I want to tell you about him so that you can have something to kind of connect that back to.
Okay.
So Rasputin was born Grigory... There's going to be a lot of Russian pronunciation.
Yeah.
Okay. Grigory Yefimovich Rasputin on January 21st, 1869. And he was born in the small Siberian village of Pokrovskoy. Okay.
Love it. It has great views.
So yeah, he came from humble beginnings. He was the son of peasant farmers. And tragically, 7 of his siblings died in infancy, leaving only one surviving sister, Theodosia, with whom he was very close. He was even the godfather of her children. It was just him and Theodosia.
And he killed the rest of them. Ate them in the night.
Oh my God.
He's a weird guy.
He is, but we don't know.
He used to stand in swamps.
Okay, I actually didn't have that info.
I'll tell you about the swamps later.
Okay. So details about his childhood are pretty scarce. So maybe he did eat his siblings. I don't know. But we know that
you heard it here first.
But we know that he didn't receive a formal education. He didn't learn to read or write till he was an adult. And there's a lot of indications that he may have been involved in like petty crimes as a kid or a preteen, but the records are pretty unclear. What we do know is that when he was 17, he left his village for the town of Abalak, which was another like small village, but just slightly bigger maybe. He met and married a fellow peasant named Praskovia there, and they had 7 children, though only 3 survived to adulthood.
Oh, I didn't realize that.
Yep. He did have kids that actually came with him to St. Petersburg. So
I had no idea.
Yeah. Rasputin remained married to Praskovia his entire life, though she'd never accompanied him on his travels. She always stayed in their home village.
Smart girl.
She spoke very highly of him and remained faithful to him. She was devoted to him even like until her death, like way later.
Okay.
She always had positive things to say. In his late 20s, Rasputin became interested in religion. At 28 years old, he fled from Abalak after being accused of stealing a horse, and he set out on a religious pilgrimage. So he had gone on shorter journeys before, but this time he ventured much further, possibly even to Greece. It was during this time that Rasputin began to develop a following. His community back home and others he encountered were often hostile toward him, and they particularly spread rumors about strange gatherings that he was known to hold, both at home and on the road. They involved music, self-flagellation, and even orgies. Like there was just a lot of rumors flying about him. They were never proven, but they persisted enough that you're like, there's got to be at least some truth to them.
Yeah, Rasputin was like, let's do Catholicism with a spin.
Yeah.
He's like, we got to motivate the people.
A lot of cults kind of do have like some tenets of, you know, regular religions, but then they kind of skew it a little bit.
Yeah, you can't just start completely new, otherwise you'll never catch new fish.
Yeah,
right?
yeah. So by the early 1900s, Rasputin had earned a reputation as a mystic and a faith healer. So this reputation eventually led him to receive an invitation to St. Petersburg. And then he met church leaders and aristocrats while he was there, and many of whom became his followers. Spiritualism was really popular during this time.
Okay.
And
seeing that thread again.
Especially in St. Petersburg. So Rasputin's presence was actually fueling the excitement at this point. He was actually very well liked in St. Petersburg when he first got there.
Magic man in the town.
Yep. In November 1905, he met Czar Nicholas and Alexandra, and in October 1906, he would meet their children. So Alexandra was captivated by Rasputin from the moment she met him. She just thought that he was very holy, and she
loved the smell.
Yeah, apparently the smell, you know, was just a part of the holiness. She believed his faith healing had a positive impact on her son, Alexei, who suffered from hemophilia, as you mentioned. And so she would bring Rasputin in. Alexei had doctors, but Rasputin would come in and pray over the boy. And she believed it really did help him to not be in as much pain.
I don't know if you're going to talk about this, but like there's accounts where coincidence or not, it worked.
Yep, I'm about to talk about it.
Yeah. Holy crap. Like that's the thing that nails it for him.
Yeah, so he eased his pain, which okay, but then he even helped stop his bleeding on one occasion, leading to a miraculous recovery after an internal hemorrhage. Like where the next day it was like it never even happened. Alexei's doctor was baffled by how fast Alexei had recovered from this.
So Alexandra is just like, I told you.
Yeah.
This is the guy.
And this happened, like there were multiple instances of him potentially stopping the bleeding, you know, like, so it's kind of understandable why she would be like, yeah, this guy is helping. Over time, Rasputin grew really close to the imperial family. He became especially close to Alexei and his sisters, and he visited them often and kept in touch by telegram with them when he traveled. However, his presence was not welcomed by everyone. The governesses in the house did not like him, and they accused him of improper behavior with the children, such as being in the room while the children were changing, inappropriate touching. And these accusations led to a scandal with the governesses really like telling everyone about what was going on and being very outspoken about it. Tsar Nicholas eventually did ask Rasputin to step away for a while.
Right.
And during this time, Alexandra still remained faithful and devoted to him. And she was really convinced that he was a holy man and that everything he does is holy, is something she said.
Almost like she thought her husband was the one making the mistake, a crucial mistake.
Yeah, she believed that Rasputin, like, there's nothing that he does that is not informed by like holiness and something higher.
She drank the Kool-Aid.
Yeah. Rasputin's image continued to deteriorate after these initial scandals. And basically from 1907 onward, he was not well liked at this point. He faced accusations of a heresy, rape, and even rumors of an affair with Tsarina Alexandra. So a lot of women said that he raped them, or, you know, there were governesses who had affairs with him. Like he was sleeping around at the very least.
At the very least. And it's crazy to find out like his wife is just back home staying faithful.
Yeah.
When Rasputin is known for being the opposite.
Being a philanderer. So he and Alexandra were essentially blamed for many of Russia's economic troubles. Propaganda posters and pamphlets were really common. They featured caricatures of Rasputin and the Tsar and Tsarina. And I think I included one that's up on the screen right now if you're watching on YouTube, where he's kind of like depicted as like a caricature holding the Tsar and Tsarina in his arms.
Yeah, it's not good when the public already thinks you're the royal family's weak.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. And then in July 1914, a peasant woman attempted to assassinate Rasputin by stabbing him in the stomach, but he survived after surgery.
Yeah, because he can't be killed.
This guy is really hard to kill, yeah. So ultimately, in December 1916, a group of nobles, fearing Rasputin's influence over the royal family, plotted his assassination. So they lured him to this guy Yusupov's palace, where they would bring him into the basement, and they apparently served him poisoned cakes and wine.
It was cyanide, right?
Yeah, it was poisoned with cyanide. So I guess he ate some of the cakes, and then he drank 3 glasses of wine, but he was totally fine.
Yeah.
He seemed totally fine. And so one of the guys came down and just shot him in the chest. So then he fell to the ground. So one of the nobles went over to like check to see if he was dead. And apparently he leapt up and attacked them. A chase ensued where they went outside, and then he was shot again. And after another struggle, he was dumped into a nearby river. So some of the details come from the account of Yusupov, and apparently there are some discrepancies. So we don't know if this story is fully true. And there's a couple things I'll tell you that do call some of that into question.
Yeah, hit me up.
Yeah. So Rasputin's daughter, for example, said that her father didn't like sweets. He never ate them. So she found it really hard to believe he would have eaten those poisoned cakes. She just thinks that that's not true.
Okay.
The official autopsy report stated that Rasputin died from a single gunshot wound to the head. There was no sign of poison or drowning that the coroner could find. And the second gunshot was not recorded.
Okay.
So, like, if we're just going off the autopsy report, it's possible he was just shot in the head and then dumped in the river.
I mean, fuel to the legend.
Yeah, but either way, like, that makes for a great story. And there's, that clearly has survived, because I knew about all that before I even started researching. Like,
Same.
I knew there were multiple attempts to kill him. And maybe it was hard to kill him. Maybe there was a struggle that took place, but maybe it got a little exaggerated. I don't know.
Yeah.
The only attendees at Rasputin's funeral were the imperial family. His own children and wife were not allowed to attend, but they were allowed to have like a small gathering afterward, but they weren't allowed to be there while the imperial family was.
That's why. Mm-hmm.
A few months later, after Nicholas abdicated the throne, Rasputin's body was exhumed and burned.
Really?
Mm-hmm.
I didn't know that.
Yes.
I'd heard that a certain part of him was retained.
Okay, I didn't know about that.
Yeah, I'll do more research there for a second, but we can all wonder what that part might be.
Okay, yep. Ugh. So we're going to look at his birth chart finally. So he was born, let's see. Sorry, I'm just pulling up the chart. Okay. So we have his birth chart here, and just taking a look at it. He had Mercury conjunct the South Node in Aquarius. So it's also squaring over to his moon and Pluto conjunction. So this means that he had a lot of knowledge and secrets, and he was attracted to finding those out.
Okay.
I think he liked having like occult knowledge. He liked having secrets. He liked being somebody that could, possibly have a leg up and like knowing certain things. And so he was probably drawn to the like imperial family and like all the higher society because people would tell him things. He would get more knowledge.
Do you feel like he probably wanted knowledge more than he wanted that power and renown then? Or were they both at play here?
I would say so. From looking at his chart, it does seem like there's a little bit of like egotism for sure.
Okay.
And maybe he did want to help people. I don't know. But I'm seeing like he has an unaspected sun in Aquarius. And an unaspected sun would give you like a really big personality, but it would be hard to control it at times. Like it's almost kind of takes on like a legend of its own, which makes perfect sense for Rasputin.
Yeah,
like,
sure.
And it's in Aquarius,
unaspected sun common? Because I feel like they always kind of have to be one aspect or another.
I wouldn't say it's common, but I wouldn't say it's like really uncommon either.
Okay.
I've definitely like read for people that have that. Like I think Taylor Swift has that. Like there's plenty of people out there that have it.
Oh, I'm glad she went the way she did, not the Rasputin way.
But she does, like her reputation precedes her, like her legacy precedes her. It makes for a big personality.
Yeah.
So same thing with him, but his is in Aquarius, which is going to give him a strange reputation. He also has a 29-degree Leo midheaven, which is going to be like a very charged legacy. Like people have strong feelings about him. Like people either love him or they hate him.
Checks out.
Yeah. And so I'm just by looking at his chart, it does feel like to me, I don't want to say like, I really don't know, I haven't like read a biography about him or anything, but it does seem like there was definitely power trips happening here, ego trips. And so I think he did probably have some occult knowledge. Like he clearly was studying it. He clearly was interested in finding secret things and secret knowledge. But also I do think that he used that to kind of like insert himself in places rather than doing it from like the goodness of his heart.
He seemed very tactical and knew what he was doing.
Opportunistic. Yep. Yeah. So I think that was more like he realized that could get him out of his like little community. And maybe he did have like a joy in like being spiritual. I don't know, but it does seem like it wasn't fully pure is what I would say.
For sure.
So yeah, that's my take on his chart.
Wild. It lines up with a very crazy character indeed.
Yeah, I do want to mention something that confused me. I said that he was born on the 21st, but then when you look at the birth chart, it's January 22nd. He actually was born on January 22nd. It's just that Russia used a different calendar at the time. So there's some discrepancy where you would say the 21st or the 22nd, like it's actually the 22nd in our calendar.
Well, that's wild that you would know that.
Yeah. So I just wanted to mention that because I realized I didn't explain that.
A different Russian calendar.
Yeah.
Didn't even know.
Yeah. So some of the days are slightly off, especially like I don't think that that's the case anymore. But back in the 1900s and the 1800s, it was like that.
They've Catherine the Great made that happen for us. I think she probably paved the way.
Yeah, I'm sure.
Who knows? Who knows?
That was super interesting. I feel like I learned a lot.
Yeah, that's wild.
Yeah.
The fact that two casts of characters who should never have met were the downfall of each other is quite an antithesis of a Disney story.
So did you watch the movie in preparation for this? You said
Anastasia?
You were going to? Yeah.
I haven't.
Yeah.
I mean, I've seen it. Yeah.
Yeah.
But
Rasputin is such a cartoon villain in it. He's like the bad guy in it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
He's still chasing Anastasia, even though she's
escaped in the movie.
And he's supposed to be dead.
Yeah. He's like a ghost, like chasing her.
Yeah.
Wait, so he stood in swamps. You never told me what that's about.
Okay, so I listened to a very long podcast about like all of his life. And so on that pilgrimage, as part of his way to connect with the divine, he would stand for days on end in swamps, and that's where he would meditate and pray.
Okay.
And again, I didn't do the personal research, so I can't say too much more about that, but like it would be like days, and he refused to bathe after.
Okay, so clearly, yeah, it's like a Shrek scent coming from him.
Very Shrek scent coming on into the Winter Palace.
Very ogre-ish. Okay. Wow. So there you have it, folks.
He's a weird guy, and I feel like if we went deeper, we could find more stuff too.
Yeah. Oh, I'm sure.
He's wildly weird. But thanks, Ash. That was great.
Yeah. Thank you, Ty, and thank you all for joining us.
Definitely. And so next week we are back to a normal type format for us. No wild card next week, and I'm going to talk to you a little bit about ghost hunting.
Okay, I'm so ready. That should be so fun.
Cool.
All right. Have a great week, everybody. Unclouded Eye stars Ashley Brooks and Ty Gowan. It's produced and directed by Nick Nordfors. Music by Ashley Jane Cecilia and Jay Caron. Our community manager is Erin Cross. Our art is by Dawn Aquarius. Unclouded Eye is presented by Haunt Me. Follow us at Unclouded Eye on Instagram and TikTok, and unclouded_eye on Patreon. Special shout out to Sue Walters and Michelle Adams. Thank you so much for being patrons and for your support.